Welcome to Pixel Mover. It's me, Hank. Hi, everybody. It's a brand new YouTube channel. That's right, another YouTube channel for everybody to enjoy. Thank you for tuning in. This is a idea I've had for quite a while. I've been a professional video editor for 10 plus years. I've gotten well over, wow, man, actually, yeah, more than. I've got about 20 years experience in Photoshop, in Premiere Pro. I very well versed in Photoshop. Of course, there's obviously things I don't really know. I've worked in media and online politics, digital progressive media. I have a ton of experience in podcast editing, daily talk show editing, a good amount in documentary, not a ton. I am currently making a feature-length documentary about a workplace situation I went through at a former employer. You'll definitely hear more about that. And if you already know me, you definitely know about that project. So we'll probably see some of that eventually. I've made short films. I'm currently editing a feature-length, low-budget film for somebody, which is really fun and exciting. I'm doing that editing in DaVinci. Let's see, I'm also doing another animated cartoon kind of documentary thing for another group, another bunch of people. So I like to think of myself as a like you know how like in music like in albums they used to sell things called albums, and there'd be like musicians who played music, maybe not the famous ones, but there was always like studio musicians who are just like really good sax players or really good baritone sax players or really good treble sax players, and they weren't famous. They weren't doing it for that. They didn't have a career in being the forward part of the business, but they knew their craft and they knew it well. I kind of consider myself sort of that but with graphics and with Photoshop, Premiere, editing, creative, the sort of creative impulses, the creative juices that flow from all of this stuff. I've created dozens is too much, but I've created a whole bunch of YouTube channels over the years. My podcast, Winners and Losers, is one of them. I don't do podcasts frequently enough. A little bit too busy these days lately. There's no really good excuse for it other than the rampant executive dysfunction caused by neurodivergence. Also have a channel called Suck Professor. We're going to take a look at some of that in a little bit. But yeah, so this is sort of this concept that's been brewing for some time in me, is to take all these skills I've got. I've earned them the hard way. That is to say, for quite a bit of my life, and I'm not going to try to make this too much about personal rambling. I do a lot of that in Winners and Losers. I also do a lot of political rambling, and eventually that stuff will certainly be a part of this project too, to some degree. But this is kind of supposed to be less of that than the other things. It's impossible to avoid these days. But the instead of much of a life, I've kind of just always been a computer goblin, always always messing with things. I don't really relax all that easily unless I'm doing something to keep my head busy, keep my hands busy. I have very good visual and spatial awareness. Was very, very strong reflexes. I was killer at racquetball. That's completely irrelevant to this project, but so I've taught myself a lot of what I know. Obviously, that means tutorials on YouTube and other things, but mostly just grinding away the hours in isolation, messing around with Photoshop, with Premiere, I'm actually pretty good with After Effects. That's a gigantic program. There's so much more to it, but I can certainly help someone who doesn't know how to use it get on board. And but through all these years, and I can go on and on about some of the work I've done, but it's it destroyed my body. I'm actually currently dealing with what I'm pretty confident is a herniated disc. I've also got messed up cartilage in my wrists, partially accelerated by a woodworking job that I had a few years back that caused I had to quit. It was bad. My wrists got really messed up. So I have damage to my body, and a lot of it does come from using keyboards and the mouse and sitting incorrectly, and so I'm sort of wanting to take stuff that I had to ruin my cartilage to learn and get good at, and show it to you in about 5 minutes. Obviously, not everything's going to get squeezed out in 5 minutes, but these lessons I had to learn the hard way, and I've developed a lot of my own kind of weird little tricks and maneuvers and tutorials and and or not development, but so I know my way around these programs to some degree that is above average. I also have a ton of respect for others who are professionals, who are graphic designers, and who are video editors, and special effects people, or special effects, VFX artists, and there's a tremendous amount of skill in the world. So I'm always looking to learn more from those folks too. Partly what we're hoping to accomplish is building out, besides having fun, because I do have part of the conception for this is to have a guest on, and we start with like a blank page, or maybe we've already set up some work, so we're continuing a series, but we start with a blank page. We write a script in about 5 or 10 minutes. Then we draw the assets. Then we animate it. I'm also somewhat proficient with character animator, although it's been a year or so since I've messed with it much. So I got to get back onto that horse pretty soon. I did a thing for TBS animation, like a little animation project for TBS some years back called Blair. I'll put something on screen, I guess, now that I'm saying that out loud. And done a good amount of my own animation on using character animator on Suck Professor over the various epochs of this career. Why did I get off on that, Jack? Damn it! Edit. I forgot what I was saying. There goes the ADHD, and then we produce the animation and we put it out. And maybe it's 10 seconds, maybe it's 20 seconds, maybe it's some specific problem a person was wanting to solve with their own project or something like that. But I really love the idea of like kind of like the creative process. So hopefully the audience this attracts are people who are interested in learning and who are doing some of this work themselves. I'm not here to use AI. I'm not completely against all AI in a sense, but I do find it to be an incredibly dangerous, and I don't think that human species is being very responsible with the way this stuff is being rolled out and injected into our lives. So that's not what we're here to get at today. But so stay tuned, be patient. Probably going to be somewhat inconsistent posting at first here because I am very deep into a big project, that film that I'm editing, and it's taking a ton of my energy. But I just had to get it done. I had to start this first episode and push forward. And ultimately, I hope to produce tutorials. Either we're going to use these like recording sessions, which is what we're doing right now, to post these as like longer form production process tutorial. But there will be a lot of me explaining what I'm doing as I'm going. I'm a little concerned that it'll become repetitive for repeat viewers. But I'm also not going to stress that too much because I think whatever shape makes the most sense for this project will come to clarity. And it's not going to happen just because I keep imagining it and telling myself to get started. It's going to happen because I actually sit down, do the work. It's 6:30 on a 6:30 p.m., 7:11 p.m. actually on a Tuesday night. I was already a guest on a stream on This Space TV, so go check those folks out. This earlier today. Cameras, lights set up. Said, let's do it. Let's do it, Hank. Quit pushing it off. Quit not doing it. So, ultimately, So I also, there'll be shorter form videos that are either going to be like pulled from this live stream, or when I say live stream, I just mean live recording. It's not live to you. It's like I'm alive right now. It's different from this longer podcast. Or I'll do more formal sort of edited type recordings where I'm very careful and very clear with the, what I show on screen, and, like a bit more of a structured kind of produced thing. So it's an experiment. I just have a ton of know-how, a ton of small little tricks, a ton more to learn. And I've done some stuff with friends over Zooms, where we jump into their Premiere project and they don't have as much experience as me. And, one guy is making his film thing, and, other people too. I've done versions of this where we work collaboratively, where I'm doing the work, drawing stuff in the program while they're giving me input. And it's so fun. It's really satisfying to do. And I really hope that my dream is that when this gets huge and it's 100 million subscribers and everybody says, "Oh my God, can you believe it? It's so much fun," that it's because we're expressing creativity through these programs and we're sharing in the process of creation, and hopefully there's an audience that wants to watch that. And then that stuff can get kicked out to the social medias, through posting, through not afraid to talk about the emotions that go into the creative world and the creative life, and the difficulties creative people face in terms of making it and having to get paid and having to make money and having to put stuff out there, and the ego and all the other factors that go into posting all the damn time and putting stuff up on social media places. And so partially what this I hope to do, though, is I get recurring guests, and maybe they have, I don't have to do the posting. Of course, on my own stuff, probably, yeah. But like, we're working on animations for their little channels or for their little project or something. And then I just get to sort of help with this creative process. And so those times that I've sat with someone and shared their screen and showed them some things, I just had so much fun. It was so great. And I did actually with my brother once. He was starting to get into some video stuff, and he needed help. He didn't know he had run into a problem. It was hard drive management. He didn't realize he had to have separate hard drives and stuff. So he encountered that barrier, figured that out. And then I was like, we're just going to show you some things. Let me just run through where we are here in Premiere. This is like 2 or 3 years ago. And he said to me after about a half hour, he goes, "Man, I've learned more in 30 minutes than I have in 7 months watching YouTube tutorials." I was like, "Fuck, I should charge for this. Pay me, brother." So I didn't say he didn't pay me. Nor did I demand a payment. But I do have a difficult time getting full-time work. If you're familiar with my other project about a former employer and the effort myself and some others went to try to change things there in order to improve our lot in life, trying to avoid using the UNION word because that I think is bad for the algorithm. Making a documentary about a former employer is about the biggest red flag you can imagine. Certainly we can go deep and dark with other red flags, but it would be nice if eventually this became some source of income in terms of tutorials, possibly through YouTube revenue, YouTube ads. Of course, I do have a Patreon that people are welcome to support. I know it's a bit earlier on the YouTube channel to plug a Patreon, obviously, but this is a wing of my overall bigger project. If you're already familiar with my stuff, you get it a little bit. It's just so inconsistent. That's the main thing that kind of messes a career up like this. And yeah, but maybe even private lessons. I'm not against that. I'm not set up at all to do that right now, and also maybe possibly even courses, producing a more formal kind of thing where I go through these things and teach people how to do this stuff. Of course, AI is threatening to destroy that market completely and take it over entirely. So maybe I should have done that like 10 years ago. But yeah, ultimately, I'm no different than anybody else. I need food to maintain my entropy forest in my brain so that I don't lose all the knowledge and information I have been storing since I was a screaming baby. And I need to sleep indoors and be safe from the world. And I am a human. And unfortunately, if you're a human in this world, in America, you have to make money. You need money or you die. So help like and subscribe so I don't die. No, but thank you for your support. I ultimately, yeah, well, okay. All right. Okay. Enough rambling. What has it been already? 100 minutes? So I've got OBS going here. Okay, 14 minutes. That's actually not bad for me. So this is an introduction. Lots more to say about who I am, man. I've done, not that that's the reason you're here, but I did do stand-up comedy for about 6 years, so I have a background in that. I do think I'm funny. I do think I'm interesting. I am a fucking comedian. Anybody who does podcasting and says they don't think they're interesting is lying. That is BS. Anybody who posts on TikTok, which I do, HANX isms, ISMS, Hanksisms, who says they're not interesting, they're lying. If you wouldn't do it if you didn't think that. And it's okay. It's okay to say, you know what? I got something to say. I want to say it in a certain way. I think if I was born in different eras way back in time, I'd have been like a writer. I'd have been one of those tortured, oh, my feather has collapsed upon the weight of my words. Summon the feather boy. No, I would have been the feather boy. Let's be honest here. So, all right, what are we doing now? Let's show you. Pixel Mover has 0 subscribers. Let's get the whole window. Is this? Yes. Okay, cool. Yeah, so we got it all lined up. I'm recording in 1440p, so hopefully it'll look good. And I think I'll probably be posting in 1080p. Or I'm sorry, I'm recording in ultra wide, which is 3440 by 1440p, because I have a ultra wide monitor, which I love this thing. You can actually upload YouTube to YouTube ultra wide dimension. It's the wide letterbox, and it'll post it that way. When it actually looks kind of cool, but I'm not sure if I want to do that for every video, because most people are going to be watching in their browsers, and I don't think it necessarily works to my advantage to because then it forces the letterbox on your browser, or it'll actually the browsers. I think it'll not do that, but it'll still be super wide. So if you maximize it on your computer screen, if your computer screen's not an ultra wide or your TV, that's where it forces the letterbox. Yeah. So, but anyway, I'm trying to record at a higher quality setting so that I can do stuff like zooming in and, whatever. That's not the point of this. Here we go. What we're doing today. Pixel Mover needs a logo and it needs a header. It needs a YouTube channel header. That would be what do they call it? The banner image is the word that they're using. At least 2048 by 1152 pixels. That is a overall size. That's a fairly large size image because it is intended to be viewed on a different variety of devices. I've made enough YouTube channels to go through this a bunch of times. You can see it in a little picture there. You might have your mobile, your tablet, your laptop, your computer screen, your TV screen. And so, but mostly what we're concerned with is here in Photoshop. And I'm still on Photoshop 2022. I'm going to eventually switch it over to 2024. I don't know if I'll have to research if 2025 is stable enough yet. I eventually want to get over into Canva. I'm kind of sick of Adobe's subscription model. I find that to be incredibly exploitative. I've given the Adobe Corporation at least over $12,000 over my years. I actually just recently upgraded DaVinci to their full version. It's called Studio, and it cost me $295 for life. One-time fee. It's my software. I get all the upgrades. They might, I don't know, maybe in 10 years, if they say we're going to charge something for that, might be like, okay, fine. Adobe has raised their price to $70 a month. Like, what is that, 800 something a year or more? Just constantly just milking you. And then they have like inferior programs, and it's come a long way. Actually, the programs, Premiere especially, is much more stable than it was like 5-6 years ago, but I still find it clumsy, and I'm really loving DaVinci and the pace of development that they're having. Although there's plenty of stuff within DaVinci that Premiere does better. Like there's things DaVinci could do that I think could be better. Okay, side point. So the area we're concerned with today is just the center bit. The widest dimension here, I have it already set up. It's 2,560 pixels left to right by 423 pixels top to bottom. Up here in the corner, if you hold the left control button, well, either controls, I guess. I don't think I've ever touched the right side control button. Maybe not. But hold control, hover over the layer icon, click. It creates a marquee. You're going to use that tip a whole bunch. You're going to do that all the time. And the height here, the width height is 2460 by 423. That just turns out to be the dimensions that it likes. You can get it wrong, but that's just where we're working in. So I have this as a shape, fill set to 19%, and here, let's get a better background, just so that it's we'll just do kind of a bland gray. Shift F5 to fill. It should not fill because it's locked, because it's inside a group that is locked. Shift F5 again, foreground color. Okay. So you can see that it's got like these two boxes I have at different shades. So here's this purple one. It is locked because these were guides that I used to create my other website, Torchlighter. We're going to look at that real quickly or momentarily. Oh, for God's sakes. Oh, guides is locked. Click on the lock thing. Now we're good. Gets rid of that little lock sign. And so this is basically all we're concerned about. they want the full size because on a television it'll show this banner across the middle, and then it'll also have like the full gap. I'm not even sure when in your YouTube browsing experience it won't show you other stuff, but this is just how it's done, and this is just how it is. So we only really need to give a hoot about what's within these little boxes. The smaller one is 1543 pixels left to right, highlighted here, stroked in pink. Currently set at a 3% fill. Now it's at 0. If you go all the way up, it goes black. So whatever, 10% is fine. Doesn't matter. This is like the minimum range, so it won't cut off anything within this 1543 pixel wide setting here in the middle. If those numbers are off a little bit, I think it's fine. I've done this a bunch of times, but they might change it, But the point is that on any device, it'll always hold that center window. So that's why we have these two dimensions. We have the wide purple, and then the middle chunk here that's faded black here with the pink. So what do we want to do? Well, before we get to that, let's take a look at a few of my channels that I had mentioned earlier. So here's Winners and Losers. This is the banner across the top. The two things we're making today are this logo and then this banner. Not these specific, but those are the two items we're going to work on today. Yeah, see how it holds the banner like that? I wonder if they've messed it, if they've changed up that middle bit. Either way, it's not that important. We're going to keep it simple. This one's kind of cluttery. There I am promoting the documentary that I'm working on, trying to get people to pay attention, and it's very difficult. There's a reason they make documentaries in groups. So that's one of my channels. Here's another one I created. Might be migrating documentary stuff over to this channel. This is Torchlighter. Here's the banner. It's a little bit more simple than that one. I do have to upgrade this blue one to be blue over here as well. Just haven't gotten around to that. This is sort of an idea I had this summer to separate my more formal edited, not formal, but my bit more edited things, and then turn these into so that they're not cluttering up winners and losers. How a YouTube channel is supposed to succeed. If I knew it, I wouldn't be constantly creating new ones. And then here's one of my other channels, Suck Professor. This has a trailer at the top, but here's the logo. Have had that for years. And a banner across the top there with some animated characters that we've had. Bum Rush Industries was my woodworking channel. Same deal. You're getting the hang of it. This is a little icon thing that's actually from the handle of the workbench vise that I have, and the banner up here with some photos I took and some stuff. Crappy woodworking for quality people. Bum Rush Industries joined the movement. Really proud of some of these videos. And I got some nice comments on them too. But I ended up having to get a job. This is what I was doing when I was unemployed between the one employer and the other. And then I went and got a job holding vibrating tools at a woodworking shop, and that accelerated the destruction of the cartilage in my hands. So I can't really do as much woodworking as I used to. Brutal. Can't put weight on my hands. It sucks. I get a lot of pain. It's slowly getting slightly better, but cartilage is not something I don't think really bounces back. So anyway, that sucks. If I do some woodworking, I'm in a lot of pain for a few days, but braces can help, and I can still use my hands for almost everything except like putting weight on my body, like push-ups or opening a door or like defending myself. So it's I would lose a fight pretty easily because of my wrists. You have to be able to be like, you get back. I'm like, oh, I can't. I'm like, all right, you win. Take my car. Another one, I have other channels too, but this is one that I eventually want to get back to working on with you guys on Pixel Mover here. Is called Every Day is Cat Day. The channel URL currently is catday6439. I don't recall choosing that, but maybe it did it for me. These are just like animated videos of, I was trying to appeal to the cat viewer market where it plays like, videos of fish and rats for some reason. My first one is called Random Rats for Lucky Cats. Change some of my settings. Oh, I got to verify my age. Don't do this now, please. That's so gross. So this one has a bunch of little rats running around, kind of random. I think I did that in character. They got like a wiggle. They're just different sizes following paths. They're awkward. They awkwardly turn because they don't bend to the turn. They're like a straight line that bends. So it looks a little goofy, honestly. But I didn't think the cats would care. Never really took off this one, but there is a moment here that's fun. Let me see if I can. Where I'm very proud of the way how realistic it looks. I drew this. Everything in this shot is from scratch, like the cheese, the floor. The cheese is not exactly perspective perfectly, but I still like the cheese. So keep your eye on the cheese. I like drawing objects. I just love to just sort of dial in and pick a thing, an onion, an orange. I've got onions and oranges that I've drawn. I have other stuff. Here we go. Oh, look at that. Look at that. Then I gave it a little baby mouse or rat. Here we come. That little pause, that little hesitation right when it grabs it, lift and go. Because I could have just had it immediately move as soon as it walked into it. And then there's the acceleration. Like it looks like it doesn't take off at the speed. It has to accelerate into the speed. Eventually we'll do interpolation. I'm very good at interpolation. I have a whole tutorial in my brain about explaining that. These fish ones are kind of fun. So these are animated fish. They swim around, a bunch of different kinds. Just change the color using adjustment layers or some sort of blend mode, something. Oh, yeah, that's right. I got the little ones. So I was sort of hoping this would turn into a big deal. These fish. But 3 videos on a channel, that's just, you got to just keep doing stuff over and over. But you see those videos on YouTube where it's cat watching for cats to watch while the owners are gone or whatever. And they have millions of views. And I was just like, what if I became like the cat guy, the cat channel guy? So, but we might just have fun with this and see where we can go. Sometimes there's nothing. This water kind of water effect, sort of top-down pool thing is, I think that's called turbulence. I believe I did it in After Effects. There's actually something in DaVinci that I noticed that's very similar. So yeah, it's kind of fun. The thing that really sort of, in my opinion, really pulls it together is that the fish have shadows. All it is the exact same animation, darkened, and then a little opacity. Oh, there's a nice pink one. Being chased by a blue one. God, this was way back. When did I even put this up? July 13th, 2020. Cure cat boredom with a full hour of colorful fish darting about in an beautiful... Geez, I didn't even write it correctly. In a beautiful mosaic pool with relaxing water sounds. Perfect way to keep cats and kittens entertained and delighted. Kids, dogs, and teens will also love watching these happy-go-lucky fish go about their day. The calming water bubble noise is good for relaxation, studying, concentration, focus, falling asleep, or just plain chilling and meowing. I was going for some of the algorithm words there. But yeah, there's a gigantic gray one at some point. I tried to make like little families of them too, and they're all the same color. There you go. That's kind of cool. So you get the sense we're going to make some banners here. Let's get rid of that. But what do we put? We're at 28 minutes. It's called Pixel Mover. I don't actually have any great ideas. I really am not even close to being ready for it. So we're just going to keep this very simple. I just want the words Pixel Mover, and I'm going to do PM in the thing, even though I think that's even what it already says. I could obviously lean on the pixel, the square. Somehow we can mess with that a little bit. I think we will. I love purple and blue. I've sort of been using those as thumbnails on Suck Professor. And I like to use a lot of blend modes to sort of layer different colors and different luma values, white, black, different values. Everything between white and black is gray. So, yeah, we'll probably just do some kind of simple, not complicated. But what I want to do here real quick, though, because if I'm going to do purple and blue, I have purple in pink guidelines, it's going to be difficult to do color properly. So I'm just going to create something else. We're going to just highlight that. I did Control left click on the layer icon. Is that even what they call them? I think that's what they call them. I've done this so long that I forget what stuff is even called. Panel options. That's right. It was a thing I was looking for. thumbnail. See, I knew it, thumbnail size. But this is a good tip, though, actually. You can change your thumbnail size if you're brand new to Photoshop, changing your thumbnail size, and then also changing it to layer bounds. This helps me a lot. So let me just bring up, we'll pull up some of these flames from the Torchlighter build. It's above this gray. So I'll change the color to violet, or let's do red. So this gray background is just a straight raster on the background. It's all gray, but it's covering everything below it. Even if I had stuff on below it, it won't show it. But so we drag this stuff up above it. So this flame, now see how in the icon, the flame is filling the thumbnail, what I was previously calling the layer icon. And I think the default is, if my memory is correct, again, I'm going to eventually switch over to Adobe 2024 and hopefully get rid of Adobe completely by sometime next year. As you go up to this burger menu, the 3 lines at the top of the layer panel, the layer window. If you don't see it, you can go to Windows. Make sure layers is checked. I have it assigned to the hotkey F7. I don't really mess with these very much. You can also do a bunch of stuff managing your workspaces, setting these up, saving these, and doing these for if you have different reasons for wanting different parts of this open. This is mostly fine. Sometimes I find this getting bigger, the adjustment panel up there. Do it however you want. It's very modular. It does get clumsy sometimes, and it can be kind of frustrating when you're new. I don't actually think I have the ideal setup, but it works for me as far as we are right now. Anyway, so burger menu, layers panel up. See, I just messed it up. So let's see. To put it back, you got to go down to get to the blue, and then drag it up to close. You just got to listen to. So even when it's floating, like maybe there's a reason you want it to be floating on its own somewhere like that, you can work off stuff that way, and you can resize it stuff too here. I don't do a ton of that when I'm working, but see, watch the blue highlight. It'll see how it gives me that kind of blue behind there. That means it's going to put it next to the adjustment panel like that. If I want to put it up here with the adjustment so that the layers and adjustments are on their 2 tabs together. You can switch back and forth. That's fine. I just had it as, see, now they're both pulled out. So now we got to go back over and set it into there. Click on the layers tab, drag it down to the bottom, see how it gets blue. Let go. It splits it evenly, and you can drag it up. So that's how that works. But now that we're here, burger menu, all the way down to panel options, thumbnail size, none. Maybe you just want to save a bunch of space because this does take up space. You could do it that way. I had it at the middle one here. The big one would be fine too. But this is the one that's really helpful is if it's an entire document, every single layer is now exactly what you see or in the document. Well, actually, no, it's what's in the layer, but it's the full scale of the entire thing. So watch this one very carefully. You can kind of see the little red pixel there moving around. So if I move to the lower right corner, it shows up. Lower left corner, you see the idea, put it in the middle, it shows up there. So I find that, and depending on what you're making, that might be fine. But if we go here, we'll go boom, panel options, layer bounds, click OK. Now each one you can see is the thing that's in the layer. And they take the shape of it too. Like some of these are sort of long. There's multiple things in there. And yeah, so I have a bunch of junk built into this one here. We have a wall. Let's hang on to the wall just for the heck of it. We'll just go Control C. You didn't used to be able to Control C, Control V in Photoshop. So that's like my stone wall. I do have this kind of dungeon theme that I have on some of it on my Patreon, and it's something I've done for sort of some time. That's the Torchlighter, and I kind of think we're all kind of trapped in a capitalist dungeon in this society. If you don't work, you die, starve to death. If they don't, you have to make the lords happy. They have to get their ounce of your soul in order for you to be allowed to feel something close to safe. But anyway, all right. So okay, so we'll hold on to the wall, but I mostly just want to get rid of eyes glowing. That's right, I drew some eyes. I've done better, but these are some eyes. Kind of cool, I guess. Okay. So, all right. Good tips, panel options, sizing, and you can mess with the other stuff there down there if you want. Oh yeah. So what I was saying was select marquee, hold control, click on the thumbnail. See, I don't like saying thumbnail because it's just makes me think because I make thumbnails. We do a lot of YouTube thumbnails, you know. But now I have a marquee the exact same size of the shape, and I just want to sort of fill it in with some other color that's not the colors we're going to be working on. So red or green, or you don't have to overthink it either. Let's just pick a really ugly green. There's lots of ways of filling stuff in. No need to stress yourself out. And we'll put this in the guide layer, or this is already in the guide folder, which I had earlier locked it. But click on the folder, unlock it, and drop the opacity down. So this is just going to give us, in fact, here, let me do this real quick. I want lines. So there's various ways of doing a stroke, which is an outline, a border. Double click on the layer. It'll bring up your options for layer style. Click on stroke. You can do inside, outside, change the pixel size. But in this case, I'm just going to go nice and easy since I have a marquee selected. Image, it's actually under edit, stroke. Now it's a different style of doing it. 2 pixels inside, center will be fine. We'll go color. Just go black. Leave everything as is. That's fine. So it's 2 pixels, and you click on center. It'll be one on one side of the marquee and one on the other side of the marquee. Outside would be 2 on the outside of the marquee. The marquee thing for me clicked open when I realized it's a fence. It kind of makes it feel physical. So it's sort of just a fence that it's a border separating one zone from another, inside, outside. So it's I have a visual, I have a 3D spatial visual. So like kind of conceiving of some of this stuff, it's confusing at first as a physical thing, even if it just means a rhetorical shift. Like instead of saying it's a marquee, you just call it a fence. Like, hey, how'd the horse get out? I don't know. It broke through the marquee. It's like, all right, okay. So click OK. We'll get like a black. We have the color panel open. So close the color picker. Click OK. Now we'll have a dark line. It's very. Oh, it went on that layer. So we see I messed up already. So I want to put it on its own layer. Press F4. That's my hotkey. I think I already had one up there, but hold on. You can't. Okay. Whenever you have a marquee selected and you have a layer and you can't delete the layer, it'll only do something to what's inside the marquee. So to delete the layer, you have to deselect the marquee, or you can, for instance, drag it down to this delete trash can icon down at the bottom of the layer panel. That's another way to do that if you don't want to deselect the marquee. There's like 100 ways to do everything. So now we have it on its own layer, and we'll do it again. Go image, stereo layer, edit. See, I know exactly. Stroke, 2 pixels. And now we have a pretty clean black line all the way up to the border there. So say you don't want it on the left and the right edge. Control T, hold Alt, hold Shift, and now I can expand it, and it'll get rid of that stuff on the side. Now, Photoshop still thinks that stuff is there. There's a way to show that, but you kind of, yeah, right there. Hold Control while the layer is selected, mouse over it, and it gives you these are called, these purple, these pink. These are really helpful before they bring up smart gaps or smart something. Like it's, yeah, those are helpful. So Photoshop still thinks all that stuff is there. So if we want to like keep it really tidy, what we can do is just press Control A, creates a marquee of the entire canvas. While this layer is selected, it's a raster layer, which is to say it's made of pixels, not shapes, not vectors. And then delete. Oops, it deleted everything within the layer. Right click, select inverse. This changes the marquee. It doesn't move it. It just flips it. So now it's the outside. So select inverse. No pixels are selected. See, I screwed it up already. It didn't work because it is, I'm so bad, because that was the full canvas. So here, I'll give you an example. So now it's not the full canvas. Select inverse. Now it's selected everything outside the canvas. If I press delete, it'll delete everything but that first selection. But I know I'm being confusing right now. So here's the other way to do it, though. Control A to select everything, and then press Control J. This is another critical hotkey. This is create layer and duplicate, but it only, if you have a marquee selected, it only does what's in the marquee. So now Control J. Now when I left click, left control, left click on the icon thumb on the layer, it's only going to show you the pixels that exist, and those pixels that are outside of that no longer exist. See, if I can square it up here. See right there. The other thing I didn't mention before, sorry if that was confusing, is when in order for the program to show you the purple bounding boxes like that, when you mouse over it by holding Control, you have to have pressed the move, or this thing it's called selection tool, the move tool. It's V. V is like a very critical normal. It's why that's the very top one here. It gives you the black arrow. V right there. It's because if you don't have V selected, the move tool up at the top, this is very basic stuff, then it won't let you do that. So we press V, black arrow with the little move icon. We're going to go to layer 18. That's the old one. We did our little maneuver to delete the stuff outside of it. This is the new one, layer 19. And now when I mouse over, it's no longer doing that stuff on the outside there. Is this making sense? Let me know. I have no idea. I have no clue. I actually want to keep this to an hour. So let's try to burn right through this here. So okay. Like I said, this is going to be an experiment. Hopefully you like hanging out with me. Kind of my thing in my dreams of this career working is that the bet that I made when I started doing stand-up comedy that I'm interesting and funny is that people will agree enough to a point that I'm able to live indoors and eat food and afford repairs to my 2012 Prius with leather seats. So we've got our little space in the middle here that we're going to work on. You can rename layers as you go if you like. I recommend, that's a huge thing you should do, but in lots of circumstances, I don't need to. It doesn't do me any good to waste time on it. There's plenty of times where I wish I had named layers and files. It's one of my I'm fighting off a burp. Another one of my fundamental tips overall is to do careful naming of your files and your folders, especially with like big video edit projects or Photoshop or whatever you're doing to keep your stuff consistent and easily searchable. The main thing is to think about like, oh, what if I forgot and then I got to go back to it in 2 years? What search terms are I going to need to look for? But you don't need to name every single file, every single folder, every single, especially in Photoshop, every single layer. You can drive yourself crazy with it. There's ways to do it quickly. I have F2, name 1, tab, name 2, tab, name 3, and it goes down to the ones that are active. So, highly recommend that you name stuff carefully, but also understand that there's times where it's not necessary. So, guides. We are going to lock off the guide folder. Go above that, above the thing. What do I have this torch on there? So I like purple and blue. And one thing I've done on my Suck Professor thumbnails is we're going to create I'm not going to overthink which blue. So I'm in the brush tool. I pressed B. It's over here. There's brush, pencil, color replacement tool, mixer, brush tool. I don't really use those bottom two. You can also assign different brushes. I got to this by right-clicking. That's also a hotkey somewhere too. This could get a little bit messy. I think Photoshop's management for this is kind of horrible. It might be better in 2024, but there's times where I've used this more extensively, and I find it really frustrating to sort of select things because this gets pretty elaborate when you start messing with different brush settings and different brush shapes and angles and brush harden. Like it gets pretty cool, but for our purposes now, we're just sticking with a hard round or a softened brush. The custom brushes are pretty neat when you got them working. And when I've done stuff with my Huion drawing tablet, I like using like a chalky looking sort of pencil stroke kind of thing. Yeah, there's like everything. There's just so many tiny little details. But so we have our brush. I can make a blue circle, nice and easy. So, but here's a fun trick: is press and hold Alt using my left thumb. Um, that actually activates the eyedropper. If you look at the color over here, when I click on the green, this ugly desaturated green, it'll choose that exactly in the color panel. But that's not what we're doing here. We want blue. The down in the swatches, this is another tip too. Although I don't use these folders a bunch, this is a bit of a wasted space. I do this occasionally. You know, I have fire colors. um, but it'll maintain like a little running history of the colors you've used. That can be helpful over here. So it's got greens, two blacks, blue. We'll go back to the blue. Now, hold Alt, right click and hold. Now it gives you this red circle. And if you go left and right, you change the diameter. Okay? You can go really big. You can mess up your computer doing stuff like this too sometimes, depending on, you know, all the various ways your computers can break because of overtaxation. And then so left and right is size, and then up and down is hardness. 0 is just basically a pure gradient. This can be really powerful. You can kind of get a sense for how big it is, and you can see all the ways that you can easily shift around. If you just want to make circles, you can go small, draw some lines. You want to make a blurry line, make your hardness at 0. Yeah, but see, since it's far away, it's not really. So make it slightly bigger, then you can get a blurry line. 0 hardness. You can also do spacing. Let's see. I think it's F5 is my color. Brush settings. So you have spacing. This is another way to like you can make this a thing quite easily. Where if you want to somehow create dotted lines like that, or like if I was going to, let's say I want to make stars. All right. So here's just cover this up. See, this is all I want to do with this program is just mess around with it until people are like, oh, that's actually pretty good. Here, let me do a fill for a black, new layer. So we want to do, let's do some red stars. F4 for new layer. And it'll be little. Our spacing is 396%. You can just drag it. Let's see, that's way more. So make it huge spacing. Drag it around. You don't have to hold it. You can just go boom, boom, boom. Okay, we got some red stars. Kind of an ugly pink. Here's some white stars. I don't like how, I wish it was more spaced. What are some other star colors? Yellow. New layer. Having fun? There's always blue stars. Those are the big, large, cold, or not cold, super hot, super heavy stars. Those are the ones that go big. So there's a field of stars just by using that little spacing trick. Then if you don't like some of this, I did these on different layers. Although I think one of them I doubled up. You can just go in and delete. Oops, that's not delete. Press E, and you can just kind of delete. Sometimes stars are close to each other. They're not perfectly distributed, you know. So, yeah, that's kind of fun. All right, that's every single thing I do. It sets me off on wanting to go down more pathways of sharing tips. So let's go back to the blue mess that we've created. And just another brush tool. Since we're doing a little bit on this, is opacity and flow. I think this deserves a larger deep dive someday. Opacity is just like it'll be 25% opaque. If you click it 4 times, you'll end up with what should be the same result. I don't necessarily know if it works exactly like that. But flow is kind of like how much it bleeds as it overlaps. So if you really want to do, I think I described that correctly. It very low opacity and very low flow. It's like you're not putting a lot of ink, quote unquote, down, and you can kind of feather your work a lot better. It's kind of hard with the color I'm doing right now. Let's go like ugly red. Like you see, I don't know if you can tell, but it's starting to turn pink because I'm clicking hard. I'm not holding it. I'm just going back and forth. So that's like, but also I have it at pretty low setting. So if you do like a little bit higher. Oh, and do I still have the spacing thing going? F5. Yeah, I still had the spacing. So spacing can actually tax your computer. I've had issues over the years where it's at 1%, and you don't really need one. You just need like two-ish. Two just alleviates the computer a little bit. Just something to play with. Yeah. So now okay. Now we're in a different. So opacity. That first demonstration where it got slow, that was even slower because of the spacing. But here, so like, see how it kind of brings it in. Now this is at very low hardness, so let's go full 100% hard, and we'll do it down here. Also, you notice how it's not as red anymore. That's reflecting the opacity. So if you go 50% opacity, you can also, so I'm clicking on the word and then left dragging, right dragging to change it. You can also just type 50 once it highlights it. And so then as you fill it in, it'll overlap in a certain way. And then flow is about I don't know. I don't know. I've used both of these a lot. Like if it's sort of a more experimental kind of drawing, you can get different textures out of these overlaps. So I will be able to explain that eventually. I mean, meaning like I just don't have the words in my head to totally tell you exactly how that works. But low opacity, low flow are a really cool way, and then a little bit of little softness on your brush tool, and you can get pretty cool stuff. And of course, to really finesse this kind of thing, you use your eraser tool, which also allows you to hold the left alt button and the right mouse button, hold that too, and then change these things. And then you can erase into your raster shapes, and then you can really kind of start carving away. Feels like you're whittling away stuff. So like, let's say you want it soft on one side, but then up on top here, you want a firmer cut, a more starker line. I changed my hardness a bunch. So you can also click once, press shift, hold it. It'll do straight lines. Click once, press shift, hold it. It does straight lines from where you click it again. So how's that? You know what? We're going to leave that. This is going to be part of our, this is going to be on our thing, except we don't have any reds in so let's do a little bit of red, ugly reds in here. And then I was not planning this. So then I just created a whole bunch of ugly red. It's not that ugly. I actually think it's a fine color. But now I'm on eraser, soften, and actually I want my flow and opacity settings to be low here. So this won't erase as much per going over it. So see how it's kind of taking away the intensity without removing it completely. And now I'm getting a bit more of a cleaner look. Now we're back at the brush. Let's do a bunch of red. And then here, a little bit more. And now we'll turn on the eraser. Let's go some hard lines here. We'll go shift, boom, gone, boom, gone, boom. Shift, right click and hold. You can drag. But see, it's not erasing all of it. It's leaving behind some. So you're getting different layers of opacity kind of like layered up on top of each other. So that's better. I'm okay with that. Yes, this is how we're doing it. I'm going to do something really quickly. I started this file as actually from an old Torchlighter thing. So before we get moving along here, I'm going to delete all this old data that's in all these layers below the gray thing, except for the wall that we're keeping. We're going to click on eyes glowing, scrub all the way or slide all the way down. I think you can delete it even if it's locked. Yeah. Press delete. Now we have a much cleaner thing. Going to click on save, even though the file name is Torchlighter. Going to right click on reveal in Explorer. I had already copied it. I don't have it on screen right now, but I'd already copied it to a different folder, knowing I wanted the dimensions and I wanted those guide layers that are in there. So I'm just going to rename. No, it's the same. Since it's open, it won't let me. So I can Control C, Control V to duplicate it. just going to rename Torchlighter as Pixel Mover and delete the appendage dash copy. And now I'm going to double click on it. It'll open it up in Photoshop. This is exactly the same file. We have two of them now. One's Pixel Mover, one's Torchlighter. We can close the Torchlighter one, and I'll delete it from this folder because I have it in its proper folder. So there's our Torchlighter graphics. Or sorry, there's our Pixel Mover graphics. That looks so bad, doesn't it? So, okay. Purple. I just like purple. Purple or pink, kind of that zone between purple and pink. I think it's kind of fun. But we're looking for text here, so I press T for text. Pixel Mover. Really small. Control T to change the size. It's just the transform. And it's not centered perfectly. You can go Control A. Control A selects the entire canvas. Press V. That's the move tool up here. Now we have our alignment tools. This is another powerful thing that you're going to get good at using. Now it's aligned perfectly to the canvas, centered. I clicked on the center, and I clicked the left, right center, horizontal, the up, down center, the vertical center. Now this thing is perfectly centered to its anchor point to the canvas. So it's looking horrible. I know. Don't worry. Font selection, one of Adobe's weaknesses compared to DaVinci, especially within like Premiere Pro. I'm missing a window here. Let's go window, character. Should have it. Okay, we've got Enter. That's the font. I don't mind Enter. We'll just keep it as Enter. That's fine. Now I have properties. Oh, so there's a character pull down in the properties. All right. Close that one then. Okay. Paragraph 2. Is it the same stuff? All right. So properties is kind of a catch-all for those. So a lot of this stuff I don't even really look at with all that much concern until I'm making a video pretending to be an expert about it. So we have some purple. Obviously that looks really bad as it is. So let's make like a background for this. I pressed S for the shape tool. Shape tool tutorials are going to be big. We're going to do some cool ones for y'all eventually. So I want to change it to black, double click. Not super impressed by that, but it'll do for now. I can do a bunch of stuff to the text if I want. Here's a fun trick. Left control, hold left control. Click on the thumbnail icon, the thumb icon. So now I have a marquee of the text. And this is produced by like a vector command because it's font. And what you could do is you can move this around. So now I press M and I can move the marquee. And one of my tips too, by the way, is to use the arrow keys to move stuff around because it moves it at intervals of 1 pixel. If you hold shift, it does 10 pixels. So if I go up, 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 I just moved it 4 pixels up. Down, 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 down again. It should go back. Okay. Up, up, up. Is it relative to the zoom scale of the zoom? What the heck? Why did it move it more than... Did I have... I've gone and confused myself. But if I hold shift and I go up, it does 10 pixels. Another one does 10. So since I have both of these selected, I'm going to go left, left, down, down. And this is where it gets fun. Control, as if I'm going to make another pixel selection, but then you hold Alt. So now I'm holding left control and Alt. And as I'm saying this, I'm probably realizing I need to probably get one of those keyboard press things on screen where it shows you the buttons you're pressing. That's probably going to be coming. Now, when you remove, we're going to remove we're going to remove the exact number of pixels based on the layer that we're removing from, but where we are removing it from a marquee that we've moved. So it's going to create an overlap, which could be really helpful. So now, see how it gives us just the dimensions around where things are. And if you see something like this too, see how there's like this, it jumps. That's just because Photoshop is trying to show you it by pixel. It'll fill in a more faded version of that. Sometimes these gradients look crazy, and it might just be actually literal pixels, but there's lots of times where your marquee visibility is different than what's the math that's under it, right? So don't overstress that anyway. But okay, so now that's cool. So now we have a marquee. We can do whatever we want with. We can delete stuff from this marquee if we want. You can do gradients and fades, and so let's. How about we just fill it with white? Now you can use the brush tool. And now, why did it not fill it with white? Oh, because I had the opacity and the flow low, so it was kind of gray and ugly. So now we'll give it white, and there you have kind of a immediate drop shadow sort of faded thing. It does leave this gap here that's not real smooth up. You know, you can go in there, you can fix that if you want, or there's ways around that too. But I like using marquee, move it slightly, and then do another one, another subtraction. And the marquee was one of those things that I didn't even think about it for. I mean, I used it a little bit in my first, but like for like 10 years. And then I realized just how powerful it is for all sorts of little applications. Once you get good at like using it to select something, but then to like either add to that selection or take away from that selection, it's a great way to control which horses you're working on that day. You know, it's a fence. So, and then I can take this and move it around where I want, and you can even like. So let's say I get rid of the pixel mover part. Oops. I sort of have a style like this on my torchlighter top header thing. So I've already lost, it's not lined up well at all here. Does that look like curved? That looks like weird. Am I just tired? I think that's a little bit, that's interesting. I didn't do anything to it. Right? Like it's not completely uniform. I wonder if that's like a slight deviation in the way that font is built, because that should be perfect. It should be exactly the same. Anyway, all right. I'll get to the bottom of that. So yeah, then it gives you this really powerful way, and move it behind it, and it'll disappear. And you can keep it really subtle. For some reason, it's like popping up. Oh, that's why I see what it's doing there. And so let's like. It's like look, this M has that too. It's like it goes a little curvy right down into the bottom of the V part of the M. Interesting. So let's do it again. So let's Control Pixel Mover. Now we just have the marquee selected. Press M so that now I can move the marquee around. That's my okay. All right. Important distinction. M, when the marquee is selected, moves the marquee. The marquee is now something I have control over. If I have V, notice the selection changes. So M is the marquee, the box up here. You can also change it to elliptical and then single row, single column. So actually there are uses for that. Never used them before until about 2 years ago. But if I press V, now when I move, it wants to move the pixels that are under the marquee. So you'll see it go. Okay, hang on. I got to set it up better. So let's just do a regular marquee. All right. So this is going to take this line, and that line. When I go V, M, I can grab the marquee and place it anywhere I want, right? Press V. See how the icon changes to the scissors? That means it's going to make a move. And because it's on a layer that has pixels, it's a raster layer, it will just do whatever you tell it to do to the pixels within the marquee. If I have it selected on a shape or a this rectangle here would be a shape, or a the font, the text layer, it'll give me a can't do error. Could not nudge the selection because the pixel's in a type layer that cannot be modified without first rasterizing the layer. Right, got it? Same with the shape. Cannot do it because it's not raster. Click on this layer here, layer 22. We'll call this white highlights. Geez, that sounds like Fox News, huh? Actually, sorry. Okay. Now when I already doing it. So now that we've got that box, press V. Now when I move stuff around, if I click on it, it'll drag all those around. and you can pull those out there. But this is a really powerful way to like make little changes or just remove something you don't want or whatever. Remember, if I press M again, right click. Do I have it on? Yeah, so you have to press M again while the marquee is selected, right click, select inverse. And now when I move stuff, it's going to move everything outside that box because it's now that the marquee you see has taken on the entire outside here. So we've excluded that box, and now I'm going to press V. Now I can push it around with using the mouse, or like I said, I like to do is I like to use the arrow buttons on the keyboard, and it moves all that stuff, and it leaves the pixels where I left them. So you can do multiple marquees, hold shift, there's a box, hold shift, there's a box, hold shift, there's a box. I let go of shift, go back to holding shift, there's a box. And now we've got a bunch of pixels, a bunch of marquees. Essentially, it's all one marquee. Click on the raster layer. It got rid of white highlights. And then press, oops, up. I'd moved it up. M. Let's go undo. Okay. I had it on M. So now we press V. Now when I move stuff, it'll move all those at the same time. So that can be done on purpose. That can be done just to save time. That can be done for creative reasons. It's pretty handy. So you can even, like, for instance, just change the color of your text. I'm going to do the one below. So I held Alt and I clicked and dragged. Let's make this color a little bit blue. Actually, let's make it a little bit of pink. We'll go towards red instead of towards blue. Over here in the color, we'll just pink it up a little bit. It's still kind of purple. There you go. That's a nice shade. Now you don't see it. It kind of does come out. You can kind of see it in that sort of edges that are a little bit transparent. So if you have pink selected, now we'll go up, down, up, whatever. Doesn't really matter. And so let's say I want to so if I turn off the top layer, you'll see all pink. Let's select the top purple, and then let's subtract from it. Sometimes I don't even know what's going to happen. I just know I can undo it, meaning like, so now if I deselect the pink, it'll leave me with, for instance, like if I wanted it to be the other side, like I say, I wanted actually to highlight a different side of it, like I actually think I do in this case. Let's undo everything. Just go the other direction, right? Just so you don't have to overthink it too much. Just know that on the process. So now I want pink. Let's kind of put it back where it sort of is gone, and then we'll go down, and then right. Now we know it'll pick the opposite of that. So select the main purple, Control, select marquee selection, hold Alt. Now we're going to select the layer below it, and you see how we ended up with the marquee on the top. So we can paint in some highlights in that color pink that I'm liking so much. It's really more of a, I don't know, don't come at me about that. And hold on, let me make sure I do it on a new layer. Wait, I did. No, I did not. All right, let me delete this one here. It's just I knew something had gone on. If it's not like when I do a new layer, the reason I knew that layer had some problem or something I just didn't know I did is because it wasn't canvas size. If there's nothing in the layer, even though it's on layer bounds, there's nothing there, it just defaults to like the full size. The fact that it was like a narrow thumbnail told me that there was stuff in there, right? So watch this whole shape here. If I just do a little line, it's got to be a long little line. Now it changes that, And it wasn't that little of a line anyway. So, but now we have a fresh one. So we'll do the same thing as we just did. So we'll select the top main one, subtract by holding Control and left Alt, or with my left hand. And now we have a marquee that we can paint any color we want. A lot of times too, when you're working, if you're not sure what colors you're going to use, you can always change it. It's never a problem to just like change that around. It's currently below, but you'll see it has that shape because that's exactly the marquee that we had. So now we can kind of do that. But if I want to put it on top of the first one, this might give us a kind of interesting dimensionality. And so you can kind of play with things and create a bit of a sense of it having some brightness, some darkness. You know, the thing with color and drawing and light is there's always a light and a dark. There's always a shadow and a glare. There's always a brighter spot and a darker spot. That's what gives dimensionality to stuff. So, for instance, here let's make this O. So, I want to make that O have a bit of a character to it that the rest of it doesn't. So, start over then. So go Control, left click, selects the entire pixel mover thing. Now we just want to pull that O selection out, so we can remove everything left of it by using the marquee selection, and then hold left Control until you see that little minus, which means you're removing. This is very close there in that thing. We could do that without. So now the only selection I have is the O. And here's another trick. And I think we're going to do one more quick little move. How bad this looks back there. This is so ugly. This is so ugly. So now, okay. Just delete this layer 24. Drag it to the trash so I don't have to deselect the marquee. But F4 for new layer. I don't know what your hotkeys are. Now, when I take this, we got the brush tool, change the hardness a bit. This is a place where opacity and flow lowering is pretty helpful. I'll just keep them at 100% because I'll just go careful. And let's add a little bit of shadow. We can go all the way black. Usually that's fine. And then now when I do anything to this, it's only going to affect what's inside the marquee. So now I can kind of like give it a little bit of shape. And it'll start to, depending on how you do it, it'll start to sort of give it kind of a sense of curve to it, which makes the pink behind it look a little dorky, which is this one. And so quickly, I'll just create a mask and we'll kind of have opacity and flow, and we'll get rid of that. And we'll also copy that mask to that. Oops, see, I messed up the mask because it's messing up the V, so we'll switch black and white. I'll get it back into this masking. That's a big one. That one will drive us all mad. Yeah, that looks terrible. That looks just freaking awful. So now here, let's bring back a little bit of a gradient on that white. Yeah, that's a little better. Okay. For some reason, the O has a shadow where the rest of it doesn't. Okay. Oh, my back. Ow, my bulging disc. Mind your spine, everybody. I'm not a doctor, but from what I've learned is don't spend your entire life curved. You gotta spend time in neutral so that your spine isn't smushing the jelly disc between each vertebra. God. Okay. Real fast. I wanted to create these sort of shapes that I like a lot. So, but in order to make it clearer, since this whole thing looks horrible, we'll just create a layer. We can turn off the guide. All this time I've been doing color with the guide on. In fact, let's just turn off the green part of the guide because that's the look how ugly that is. Okay. Where did I go? Here's the big blob I just drew. Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to make like a pixelated blue ball. So I'm going to use the brush tool, change the hardness to something like that. We don't even have I did it on the wrong layer. I did it exactly the same color, so nothing changed, even though I told it to do something. We'll just pick a blue out of here. New layer, center it. Doesn't really matter for this size. It kind of does a little bit, but we're going to move it around. So, boom, Do you want it to be perfectly centered? Control A to select everything. Press V and then use the align tools. Now it's perfectly centered. Now we can go up to filter, pixelate, mosaic. And this can give us a lot of control over this kind of shape thing, right? So I picked one. Now we have kind of a pixelated blue. I find these to be sort of cool looking. And we'll turn off this blob I drew just to have something. Oh, I can't get over how bad that is. But I like this pixelated blue color. And let's say I want that to be purple. Okay, so a few different ways. Let's do new layer. First of all, let's drag it over to the middle. Doing it right on the edge of the screen, you're asking for trouble. So you can, okay, let me delete that new layer. Okay, so you could just Control J to duplicate with no selection. It just duplicates what's in the layer. And then press Control U, go to color, mess around. We can change the color all we like. This goes fast and easy, no problem. I like that purple. Change the lightness, change the thing, saturation. This isn't even about blend modes. Colorize helps. I don't know the like what it's doing mathematically, but that's like when you have something that's like dark and it's changing the color before it doesn't do anything. There's more. I'm sure there's a better explanation for that. So that's one way to do it. Let's turn that purple off. Here's another way to do it. Select the marquee. Now I have a selection of the blue pixelated layer, but we have the other layer highlighted. Press B. Let's pick a purple out of the color thing here. Sure, that's a good one. And then when you highlight it in, turn off the blue, it basically gives you the exact same thing. So let's look at our two purples. Look, we have two purple blobs that are identical except for the color being precise, and they're both basically, they should be identical. There's two different ways of doing that. I think I kind of like having some purples coming in. Maybe we'll put one of them below the text. Where's the text layer? Oh, I'm doing this up in the guide. See, I'm a dummy. If you're a dummy, you're one of me. All right. Above the. Let's get a little organized here. So what is this? Okay, that's yeah. All right. So text. This whole thing is text. Let's turn off. Let's delete that. This is where organizing becomes huge. So put it all in a group. Words. But I kind of want to see what one of the purples looks like below it, like behind it. I don't know. And then I sort of would like the idea of a blue transition to purple. And I think we could use another purple. Let's do this one behind. So the other thing you can kind of do is blend modes. Now, there's a whole science to the blend modes, but when you scrub through these, it'll start to interact with the layers below them. Some of them are additive, some of them are subtractive. Some of them just like do weird math things. I use them all the time, mostly just by experiment, depending on what the need calls for. Dissolve, I'm not even quite sure, but I have actually used that. And so you can kind of change blend modes and stuff with these shapes. Another trick is let's duplicate another purple. It'll be behind the blues. Nope, it's not yet. I did the wrong one. So now we have a purple behind the blues. Let's take that and drag it left and right by holding Alt Shift, and now it's changing the dimensions of the squares. See how you're kind of seeing it's very large too. I made that one quite big. So there's a way to highlight it quickly, but sometimes turning off all the layers and then turning them back on. I don't know if there's a way to solo this layer. There probably is in Photoshop. But see, like this is the shape I just did. It has this kind of crazy, huge shape. If you don't like those dimensions, you can kind of mess with them a little bit. So let's put them above. I'm not thrilled with that, but that's a little bit better. Kind of think it needs to be a bit darker. And maybe we'll try some blend modes with that. See how it sort of even dark stuff. So sometimes you're only like there's some of these modes it ignores color. It only is looking at the luma, the black and white setting. So yeah, you can get kind of a lot of fun stuff out of this. And then when you start to get into animating, you're moving these things around. See now the reason I was using the sorry. It had the blend mode selection still selected. It was outlined in blue. That's why when I was pressing up and down, it was doing that. So press escape, so it deselects that blue. Now when I move it up and down, you can see it'll kind of maneuver around. You can even, a fun animation trick is to just screen record Photoshop. That's a way to, add stuff. So we'll do that one there. It gives it a little bit of a thing. And then how about, let's select the green for the bounding box, and let's put a bit of like just a very basic black fade inside the box. That's pretty straightforward. But oh no, I did it in purple. Gee, press Control U, take away the color by turning it completely black. Now it's totally black there's no more color. And we want it behind the words. It's a little bit too intense, right? That's a bit more than I wanted. A couple ways around that. Lower the opacity. Not bad. Don't hate it. Very common. Nothing wrong with that. Another way to kind of ease up the intensity of that is to move it. I'm pressing up on the keyboard. I really got to get one of those button presser thingies. Now I'm just sort of going to, because what I know I'm going to do is I'm going to remove everything above the selection. This is where marquee selections are so powerful. Now I'm going to hold left control, click on the green thing. Now we have a selection. And a couple ways. Again, you could select inverse. And as long as the right layer is highlighted, press delete. It deletes it. I like that a little bit better. But the other way, instead of just selecting inverse, just Control J duplicates it within, and it'll just do exactly the same thing. So, and then let's gradient that a little bit. We'll go like a mask, really big. This is where flow and opacity come into play. Wish these were a little bit easier to sort of select sometimes, but then I'm multiple clicking. Now it's starting to remove. Okay, so see it created this gradient on the mask. I want to do the exact same thing on the bottom, so I'm just going to duplicate this mask, this layer here actually, and go to edit, image, invert, edit, transform, flip vertical. It flipped it in the same space, so you have to relocate it by pushing it down. If you want to get real close, hold Z, zoom in. Boom, boom, boom. And now there's that. I'm not liking the blue kind of color. I think that's a bit goofy. Minus 21. So I did the color change on that one. Let's do it again on this one. Just make the exact same. Oops, plus minus. Plus minus is the same as minus. Plus minus 21. And I think one of my big things is like I want to change this one, but I'll duplicate it first. Turn off the bottom one. This is sort of just a history state. Kind of just keeps the old one in case you don't like what you did. You can undo to do all that. You can get into your own workflow, but I'm gonna kind of stretch this one out just a touch. And then let's do another. So let's take this one blue here, duplicate it. And we need some glare. We need some white. We need some brightness to this, right? So I've got this one moving around. Control U brings up the hue saturation. I think that's one of these up here. And then we'll just crank it all the way up to white. Put it on. You can make it really small. Give it a little boop, boop, boop. Whatever. But what I'm going to do is a blend mode now that I just have a bright white and see what happens. So it'll start messing with stuff. Even yellow, huh? That's kind of nuts. And then that's too much, so we'll go lower the opacity with different blend modes. And straight up white is actually kind of limiting because there's only one information for the program to work with. So let's go filter, meaning there's only one data point, which is it's just pure white, which is a bit unnatural in nature and in everything else. Let's add some noise to it. This will just give it a bunch of texture. Who cares? It's fine. 17. That's probably kind of high, but that's okay. Now I think when I do some blend modes, you'll see a little bit more texture coming out of that. I'm not even sure what I'm looking for, honestly, but just some sort of. And if you get it close, or if you sort of can tell it's kind of there, like I saw one that I kind of liked. I don't even know what I'm doing here. So like that's a bit dark. I'm sort of looking for it to. All right, it's fine. We'll do it over there. Now it just looks fine. Duplicate that one again. Bring it back since it's the one that we just had. And so, but then you can always just go back into it and mess with some of this. This is like a good example. So it's all white, so there's no color for it to change to. See how nothing's happening right now? Colorize forces it to sort of color, but you have to also crank up the saturation and usually lower the lightness. And now I can change colors and stuff. So you're never really out of options with this sort of thing. I'm not even sure what I'm looking for. I'm just kind of looking for kind of a glowy blend of the purple and blue, but I'm overdoing it right now. Can't say I'm thrilled, even though I said I needed some white highlights. And okay, you know what? I think we're close to done. Let's do one final thing, just for the heck of it, just sort of a real basic. So new layer. Press X to change. We'll get into this someday. This X, the hotkey X on your keyboard, switches between the top color and the bottom color, whatever they call it. You can also double click on this stuff over here. That's a big black and white are like how you control mask opacity. But so we have a white one, but I want to make like a little star. So I'm going to do like a bright white ball at maximum low hardness, or whatever it was, the lowest hardness. Let's delete that layer. Hit F4 again, new layer. Boom, and then we'll go. So Control T to transform, shrink it down. This can go anywhere you like. You can make this like a J.J. Abrams light beam if you want. That's kind of not. I don't know. I'm not thrilled with my decisions right now. I'm not saying this is. I don't hate that. And then so let's do it again though. That's not what I was planning. Let's go new layer, make a white ball, shrink her down, make it little, and then I want to make it into a star. I want to go Control J, Control T, rotate it 90 degrees, hold Shift so it gives you these chunks. I think it's 12.5 degrees or something. Now we have like a kind of a star thing. We'll merge those two. Control J again, Control T. And now you can kind of like get, those are 45-degree angle. Maybe you want a little blur in the middle there. So, no, we'll just make a separate layer, press B, make a little ball, and then take the two kind of star radials. Now I merged them into one. You can see that, but you want to have the white ball centered. You can eyeball it. Sometimes who cares? It doesn't have to be perfect. But if you want it to be perfect, you make a marquee. Control, hold Control, click, let go. Now you select the layer you want to move and align it to that marquee, and now it's perfectly lined up. It'll probably look the same top and bottom, but say we want like the top one to be brighter, you can double them up. Maybe the bottom one should be a bit bigger for a little glowy. You can kind of give it a. All right, sorry, I'll back it up here. Oops. Oh shoot. Oh no. Oh no. I lost it. That's okay. Just select it again. Alignment tools, and it's exactly back where you want it. We'll make this one kind of large because that's sort of like the light being spilt out. And what do we call this? Glare star. Now, that's a lot, though, isn't it? It does kind of make you go like, geez, dude, chill. What's with the bright light? But maybe, okay, that's too much. Let's say Control J to duplicate it. Let's just keep one for later in case and then we'll just lower the opacities or make the whole thing smaller. Like you can then just go in here and play with the entire thing. Maybe it's just too much to have a glare like that. That's kind of cool. So there's one. There's the other one. You can merge the group. Oh, yeah, you can merge the group. I kind of like the full-on bright one, though. But maybe we'll turn down. Like if you want to put a little bit of blue in there, I'm going to select the big one. I'm going to select the middle one out. Now we should have like a donut, I think. Make it, let's put like a little touch of blue. Okay, so that's the wrong, okay. Select inverse. Now it should just do, we're making it too complicated. Yeah, blue in the middle. I'm not recommending what I just did there. That's bad. That's bad. But there, you could get the sense though that like every single layer gives you a template by doing a marquee selection, and then that gives you something that you can then use to manipulate other marquee selections and control and move stuff around. So, yeah, okay, we're almost done. What we're gonna do now? I'll just do it inside this Photoshop just because, but I'll upload it separately. Actually, that's not how I want to do it. Let's create 1,000 by 1,000. Screw it. We'll just do a new one. New. These are a bunch of my old shapes and sizes. Do I have a preset? Who cares? Just type 1,000. 1,000. This isn't some sort of standard. I just find it easy to remember. Depending on your DPI, we can get it and all that sometime, someday, somehow. So that's going to be our small one, the avatar something. So this is a bit bright for me, I think. Just turn the glare star down just a touch. You know, if you want to rotate it, Control T. And you can this is you can animate that, and you can animate the size of the star. This could be like a flare that goes whoosh and like slaps the camera. You know, it's all up to you, man. It's what it's all about, dude. So like maybe that white line, which I can't locate, you can select it different ways, but see, I don't have it labeled, so it's not easy to pick out. But I know that it should look like a small. I know it's behind the words. Yeah, it should be a thin one. Was it better down here? I don't know. We'll just leave it where it was. Okay. Well, that's something. That's just okay. So here, let's just take a couple of the blueies. That one's even turned off. And then the star. And I'm going to press Control C. Now I'm going to hold Shift Control to paste. It pasted exactly where it was in orientation to the previous one, so maybe I didn't want to do that. But let's say I want it right in the middle. This ain't going to be in the middle. Control V. Okay. All right. We should do one at a time if we're going to make this work. It's also a much smaller dimensional than this one. That's why it's tripping us up here. So here we'll go purple, boom, boom. Okay, now we want to center that. And let's take the star. This is going to look really bad, actually. Control C, Control V. Center the group, not the individual layers, so they all move together. I do want one to be blue, although if you're doing proper stuff, you should probably do the same color blue as the other. So here, we'll just select it, create a new, and then go blue. Put it on top. Get rid of the bottom one. That white is messing everything up. So let's move that down. And I know that what's behind here is what's tripping us up too. So let's give it kind of a neutral gray color so that we have that. Let's just try something here. I don't think this is a great idea, but So I want half the purple and half the blue. I want them to sort of split. Do I want that? I don't know. I was just going to put PM right in the middle. Where's the text? This text looks still bad. I'm not. Sometimes I'm a good designer on accident, but there are people out there in the world who are like really talented graphic designers that have proper skill. I think occasionally I nail it, but I'm not. I feel that is ugly, isn't it? Ugly. Good God. Good Lord, make it stop. Maybe just like a shade purple into the dark. Down. A lot of darks have color, unless you're going full on black, where the color code is 000. PM. And then make it big. Pressing the modifier buttons, Shift, Control, PM. Let's take a star out, make it small, and move it above the word. Huh. Where does it go? Where does something go? Ba-ding. Kind of, the corners are always sort of right there in the M. How's that? Do I like it? Not really. But it works. Does it? I don't know. Not really. I think the star and the purple is messing with stuff. Okay. And the color behind it dramatically changes things, though. I think we should make this pink. It'll really jump out with a little pink. Now I don't like the star right there. Oops. But, oh, okay. Hang on. I'm moving too fast. Okay, there we go. F it. We'll just do that. I got a chicken pot pie to microwave. Okay, I'm in a hurry. All right. Yeah. Let's just make sure that the PM is in the center. Sometimes with text, though, you got to be a little bit careful with what the program thinks is the middle of the text. Like these are both the exact same height, so it's pretty safe it'll be right. But if you have the accents, or sorry, you have like the bottom of the Y, the bottom of the J, words that, so fonts can trip you up a little bit in that sense. So you have to kind of be mindful of how symmetrical your various things are. So, okay. I'm going to be drawing some people in the next ones, I think. We're going to have a couple of fun, artistic kind of versions of this. So some of this podcasting will be just me rambling while I work. A lot of what I'm kind of, because I have the selection. A lot of what I want to do is like incentivize myself to get stuff done. I'm autistic, ADHD, and I have very bad executive dysfunction, kind of distractibility issues, and so I have various ways of trying to work with that. But I'm doing creative works, and by making it into a podcast and something I'm going to post on the internet, it forces me to do it. I would have been playing Rocket League or doing some other screw off thing if I didn't force myself to do this tonight. And so this kind of gets me motivated. That's a big reason why I'm also liking this project. So it's almost 9:00. How long did we go? Probably too long, but not a bad start. So I'll export these. The way the glare is actually giving this black background a little bit of a dimensionality to it. Maybe we can get into that someday. But we'll save. Why did it just jump when this happened? And I'll save this one. I don't hate that, actually. That's not going to be terrible. So there we go, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. First episode in the books, in the can, or whatever they say, down the drain. Thank you for watching. Hopefully this is the first of many. There will probably be some fun and exciting days if I can really pull this together. Having a guest, I've done this with a few people. It's so fun. Drawing stuff and it's nice because I have a big brain and I like to think in it, but it trips over itself. It gets wound up on its own petard. Is that a thing? Um, but I really had, like, when I've done it with other people, I love being able to take their idea and collaborate, and like I don't have to do everything myself while also trying to talk and record and mentally produce the edit and the other stuff that goes into the mind while you're recording for YouTube. But having others involved changes or alleviates me of some of that burden, and therefore I can put my fast processing head into doing it and just doing it really, really well. And it's really fun. And I think we'll have a lot of fun with that. So we'll move a lot of pixels together. And I hope you come along with me. And I need to move my spine into a neutral. Oh, man, I think I can get this thing better. I don't think it's unrecoverable, but it's not comfortable and it hurts a lot. So much pain. So that's all we got. Thank you so much, guys. Talk to you again. And we'll see you very soon. Bye-bye now. Bye. Bye. Goodbye. Goodbye.